Hello, folks. I'm going to go with a rough draft of my new novel called The Ward. So I will start reading from that right now. May take a few seconds till I get to the opening page here. I may even zoom in on this if I can find my zoom button. Anyway, here's our basic story. Derek had never wanted to leave teaching. He probably knew that he was going to be a teacher when he was 12 years old. Although he did not like all of his teachers when he was growing up, there was a few that he became his role models. One teacher in particular especially inspired him. This teacher's name was Mr. Swanson. Mr. Swanson taught grades 7 and 8. He had difficulty disciplining his students due to his very kind and compassionate nature. But to Derek, Mr. Swanson displayed all the characteristics of a great teacher. It was not only Mr. Swanson's compassion that inspired Derek, but it was also his teacher's intense creativity. In many ways, Mr. Swanson was way ahead of his time. I would estimate by at least 2 decades. During a health class, for example, Mr. Swanson brought in about 25 cows' eyeballs for the students to work on. We used these in class when we were studying the human eye. There was another time that Mr. Swanson brought in his pet lizards to show the class. Mr. Swanson would take his more challenging students and shoot pool with them at the local pool hall at least once a week. That's how hard that the distance that Mr. Swanson was willing to go for his students. May well have been Mr. Swanson's influence that inspired Derek to want to become a teacher. Even though Derek's grades were only adequate in high school, he applied and got accepted at university. After he completed his Bachelor of Arts degree, he got accepted at the Faculty of Education. It was during that final year that Derek attained his teaching certificate. It was one of the highlights of Derek's life. However, Derek's story is not a Hollywood story. It's not a fairy tale. Derek struggled greatly when he was a school teacher. There were a couple of reasons for this. One of the reasons was that Derek suffered from the same limitations as Mr. Swanson. Derek loved kids and he loved the students and perhaps loved them too much. Derek was very giving of himself as a teacher and was not really a top-notch disciplinarian. His classes were sometimes chaotic but very interesting, just as Mr. Sanders were. Derek, too, possessed that strong creative streak. In fact, if it wasn't for Derek's superior lesson planning and creativity, he'd probably have failed miserably as a teacher. Almost inevitably, Derek finally encountered a principal who was very strong on discipline and not that passionate about creative curriculum development or exciting lessons for the students. The principal could see that Derek was a popular teacher, even if the students did not always take him seriously or treat him that well. The principal's desire was to have well-controlled student populace that would be the envy of every other administrator in the school district. The only way that he could accomplish this was to get rid of teachers like Derek. The principal wanted to stock his faculty with nothing but tough disciplinarian-type teachers. In a private meeting with Derek, the principal laid down the law. He wasn't one to mince words. The principal explained his philosophy of education to Derek and told him in no uncertain terms that Derek was not making the mark. The principal also told Derek that he was prepared to let him go at the end of the year unless Derek had shown significant progress in his classroom management. Derek left the principal's office very shaken. This is something he'd been fearing for the last couple of months. Derek was not a stupid man by any means, and he knew that he did not figure in the principal's future plans and vision for the school. In the last few months of the school year, Derek tried harder to improve his classroom management skills. He went to in-services. He asked advice from other teachers. He read books on the topic, but as hard as he tried, Derek's improvement in his discipline skills were marginal. It was nowhere near close enough to impress his new principal. By mid-May of that year, the emotional stress and pressure was taking a heavy toll on Derek's health. Derek was a heavy smoker, and by the second week of May, he developed a serious case of bronchitis. The illness's effects were so severe that Derek had to take 2 weeks off of school. When Derek finally returned to work, he was once again called into the principal's office. The principal told him that he now had two serious issues to deal with. Not only did Derek's classroom management skills have to significantly improve, but so did his health. The principal sternly informed Derek that 2 weeks of off work was not acceptable. The principal told Derek that he still had a small window of time left for him, but he would very likely be let go at the end of the school year. Derek did not have the bodily or mental constitution to deal with this kind of pressure. The truth is that most teachers don't who are placed in this intolerable situation. When Derek returned to work, he found he was not feeling much better. He still had the nagging cough, and he was still feeling very fatigued.